Hi, my name is Zach, and in this video we are going to look into subjects and predicates. Let's begin. A sentence has two basic parts. One is subject and the other one is predicate. Subjects can be nouns, can be pronouns, clauses, infinitives, and gerunds. Predicates, on the other hand, is everything that is not the subject. And this includes verbs, objects, predicate nouns, predicate adjectives, adverbs, or adverbial phrases. So here we have two examples. We have example A and example B. The two sentences above are similar in meaning, but they have different focus. In sentence A, the focus of the meaning is my grandfather, whereas sentence B is mainly about the car. Let's see if we can put a suitable one of the two sentences above into each space below. Okay, so here and here. Okay, so my grandfather bought the car many years ago. The subject is my grandfather. And the car was bought many years ago by my grandfather. So here the subject is the car. Now we have two paragraphs. Let's begin with the first one. In my garage, there is an old car. And then we have, it is a Cadillac. It is a Cadillac. Now here the pronoun is it. And we don't really use it for people, right? So if it's the grandfather, we would not say it, but we would say he. So here the obvious answer is B. So the car was bought many years ago by my grandfather. It is a Cadillac, a very classic luxury car manufactured in 1966. The second paragraph we have, in my garage, there is an old car. It is my grandfather's gift for my grandmother. Now here, A is giving something to B. In our case, the subject is giving a gift to the object. To buy this car. To buy this car. Okay, so this is an infinitive phrase, right? So this is a phrase. This is not the subject. So to buy the car, my grandfather had been saving. Okay, so my grandfather is the subject here. Okay, so obviously the focus in this paragraph is shifting to the grandfather. So the answer here would be A. All right, so subjects can be very easy to be found in a sentence. They're usually at the beginning of a sentence. They go before the verb. They're usually a person, animal, or maybe an object, right? But we do have 4 situations where it would be hard to find the subject. The first situation is when we begin a sentence with there be and here be. Now, I would like to talk about the verb be. A lot of students see the verb to be and they don't know how to change it to verb to past simple, or maybe verb 3 past participle. So the verb to be is in the base form, and it can also mean is, am, are, or in the past simple, it would be was, were, and past participle, been, right? So we have there is, there are, here is, here are, there was, there were, here are, here were, and so on. Okay, so my first example here is here is your ticket. Here is your ticket, right? Now we begin the sentence with here, and then we have linking verb is. Here is, and then the subject of this sentence is going to be your ticket. Your ticket, right? So here is your ticket. If we change this sentence, it would be your ticket is here, right? Another example with there. There are lots of pine trees in the park. So there are lots of pine trees. Pine trees is the subject of this sentence. And this is because we begin the sentence with there is, there are, right? So there plus the verb be. The second example is when we use imperative sentences. Imperative sentences are when we give orders. For example, shut up, right? Shut up. So here in this example, we don't have subject. That is because we know who we are talking to, right? So we assume we know who we are talking to. So we say shut up or you shut up. So if we have you shut up, then the subject would be you. Another example in this case would be give me your passport, right? Give me your pencil, give me your book. So again, we don't have the subject, you give me your book. Okay, the third case is when we use question sentences, when we use questions or interrogative sentences. Here in this example, we have you applied for the job? Have you applied for the job? So the main verb here is applied, right? So we have the verb applied. It's right here. And the subject is you. You applied for the job. You, subject, you, the verb applied. Have you applied? Now, what is have? It's a helper verb, right? So in this example, have is helping us set the tense right. So have you applied for the job? All right. And the last case where it would be hard to find the subject is when we have inverted sentences. Now, what is an inverted sentence? Inverted sentence is when we take the subject, we take the verb, and we change their position in a sentence. Here we have, on the floor is your homework assignment. On the floor, and then the verb is, and then the subject is your homework assignment. Your homework assignment. Now, do you remember when I said we change their position? If we go back and reverse them, we will have your homework assignment is on the floor, right? So your homework assignment is on the floor. Very simple. All right. Now, sometimes in writing, we forget to write a subject, and that's because we sometimes write the way we speak. Let's look at the first example. We have, I looked for a place to turn around, full stop, but found only a narrow road. Okay, so in spoken English, this sentence would make perfect sense. It is acceptable, right? And that is because we don't really see the full stop. But in writing, if we have full stop here, then the second sentence must have subject. So I looked for a place to turn around, full stop, but found only a narrow road. Okay, so now we have two solutions here. The first solution would be to simply insert the subject, right? I looked for a place to turn around, full stop, but I found only a narrow road, right? So, but is a coordinating conjunction. They have a really cool name so that we can remember them. We can call them fanboys, right? So fanboys stand for and nor, but, yet, and so. The second solution would be to remove the full stop and make it a phrase. So we can have, I looked for a place to turn around, but found only a narrow road, right? So there is no full stop, there is no subject here, and this is part of the main class, right? So we've turned this into a phrase. Right, we learned about subjects, we learned where to find them, how to find them, and now we are going to learn about predicates. Okay, so predicates are the part of sentence containing the verbs as well as other words such as direct objects, indirect objects, predicate nouns, predicate adjectives, adverbs, and adverbial phrases. The predicate, in short, is everything that is not the subject. All right, so here we have the subjects. So in the first example, we have I to be the subject. Everything else in this sentence is going to be predicate. All right, now if we want to break this down, then we have I subject and then bought to be the verb, right? Action verb, bought, and then a house, and for my parents, we have two objects. One is direct, one is indirect object. Okay, the second example, some of the buried workers is a subject. Are, in this example, is a linking verb, and still alive, they act as adjectives. They describe the buried workers. The baby's subject, grew, is a linking verb, and then everything else in this sentence is going to be predicate adjective, right? And the last one, John is my friend. We have linking verb is, and my friend is a predicate noun. Okay, now we have main verbs and we also have auxiliary verbs. Now the main verb in the first example is playing, and the main verb in the second example is caught. Auxiliary verbs in the first example are must and be, and auxiliary verbs in the second example are has and been. So George must be playing basketball with them now, right? So George must be playing basketball with them now. Second example, the thief has been caught in a deserted building. The thief has been caught in a deserted building. Okay, so the main verb here is caught, and has been are auxiliary verbs. Okay, now can auxiliary verb be used alone? The answer to this question would be no. So, for example, we cannot say George must be basketball, right? So George must be basketball with him, right? So it doesn't seem right. It doesn't sound right. And maybe it will make sense sometimes, but the answer to this would be no. We cannot use auxiliary verb alone. We always need to have the main verb. Now, we do have two types of main verbs. We talked about auxiliary verbs, right? Could, may, have, and so on. But we also have main verbs. The two types of main verbs are action verb and linking verbs. Now, action verbs can be do, act, make, walk, take, break, react. Okay, so these action verbs, what they do is they help us move the plot forward. They help us, they help the story move. If we don't have action verbs, the plot doesn't have any movement, right? Linking verb, on the other hand, are used to describe the subject. They are used to describe the subject or to rename the subject. Like, for example, let's say Zach is tall, right? Zach is tall. There is no action with this, there is no progress with this verb is, right? Because it is just used to describe the subject. So is acts as a linking verb, and then tall is an adjective and describes the subject. So there is no movement from one place to other. Like if we use the verb go, for example, action verb, we can say Zach went to the supermarket. Now there is a movement here, right? There is some kind of action. For that reason, they're called action verbs. There are 14 linking verbs in total, and we can put them into three categories. Now, the first category is to express judgment or some kind of change, and those verbs are be, get, turn, and prove. The second category indicates 5 senses of the human, and those verbs are look, feel, smell, taste. Am I missing one? Look, feel, smell, taste, and sound. Okay, so one is missing here. There is another one, sound. I will try to add that verb here as well. And the third category is grabs. right? So grab stands for grow, remain, appear, become, and seem. Okay, now what is happening if there is a lack of complete verb? Let's look at this example. I was fully awake now, full stop, right? So I was fully awake now. This is a complete sentence, right? We have subject, we have was awake, right? We have the verbs. Now, in the second sentence, we have I wondering what had happened to me. I wondering what had happened to me. Now, the question is, why do we have ing here, right? So something is missing, something is not right. Okay, so to fix this, the first solution would be to change the verb into past simple. I was fully awake now, full stop. I wondered what had happened to me, right? So we changed the verb from I wondering to I wondered, right? Because we are talking about something in the past. The second solution would be to just make it a phrase, to remove the subject and use it as a phrase. I was fully awake now, comma, wondering what had happened to me. Again, wondering what had happened to me. And the third solution would be to make I was fully awake now into a phrase. So, fully awake now, comma, I wondered what had happened to me. Right. Now, we do have a situation where both a subject and a verb may be missing in a sentence, right? Let's look at this one. The Titanic was completed in 1912. Full stop here. So, the Titanic was completed in 1912. There is nothing wrong with this sentence, right? It's a complete sentence. We have subject, we have the verbs, it's perfect. The second sentence reads, the most luxurious ship of its day. Right now, this is a phrase. We don't really have a subject and we don't really have a verb, right? So, the most luxurious ship of its day. Now, this phrase can act as an adjective, right? So, obviously, can describe the ship, the Titanic. Okay, so the first solution to this one can be to write it like this. The Titanic, comma, the most luxurious ship of its day, comma, was completed in 1912. Or we can just use a phrase, completed in 1912, comma, the Titanic was the most luxurious ship of its day. All right, so we also have a case where a main clause might be missing, right? So what is a main clause? A main clause has a subject and a verb and can stand on its own, right? So let's look at the first example. Grandparents always held a special place in caring for the little ones. Full stop. Right? So this is the main clause, right? We have subject, we have verb, right? So it's a complete sentence. Now here we have, because they had more time to devote to them, what happened? Something is missing, right? So because they had more time to devote to them, something happened. What is the result? So because is a subordinating conjunction, right? And this, because we use because, is a subordinating clause. In order to make a complex sentence, we need to have a main clause, right? So the first solution would be to remove the full stop from here and join the subordinating clause with the main clause. So we can write something like, grandparents always held a special place in caring for the little ones because they had more time to devote to them. We can also change the order, right? So we can also write, because they had more time to devote to them, comma, grandparents always held a special place. The second solution would be to just make it a main clause, right? So as you can see here, we have removed the subordinating conjunction because, and we've added the subject. Right, so grandparents always held a special place in caring for the little ones. They had more time to devote to them. Again, they, subject, had more time to devote to them. So it's perfect. It's a whole complete sentence. Right, so we learn about subjects, we learn about how to find them, we learn about the use of different subjects so that we can focus on different things. We also learn about what happens when subject is missing and how to fix that. And then we also learn about predicates. Now let's practice and see if we have learned something. Okay, so the play will soon over. The play will soon over. Right? Do we know the answer here? The play will soon over. Now, will is a helper verb. It's an auxiliary verb. What does it do? It helps us set the right tense, right? So this would be future simple. The play will soon over. Okay, so what do we need here? We need the verb to be, right? The play will soon be over. Okay, let's look at the next one. A strange flying object, seemingly in the backyard. So here we have a strange flying object, seemingly, and then we can use any verb we want that will complete the sentence. Landed or fell in the backyard. Okay, let's look at the next one. The cat may be on the roof or in the bushes. The cat may be on the roof or in the bushes. Okay, do we know the answer to this one? Maybe. Maybe is adverb, right? So the cat, subject, and if maybe is adverb, then we don't have verb, right? So what do we need to do here is we need to split maybe, right? So the cat may be on the roof or in the bushes. So all we have to do here is the cat and then the auxiliary verb may and then the main verb be. So it might be, right? So maybe, might be, could be, right? So all these work. Very good. Okay, next one. After I had lunch at a village pub, full stop, I looked for my bag to get money for my bill. Interesting. So here we have two sentences. After I had lunch at a village pub, full stop, I looked for my bag to get money for my bill. Do we know the answer? After is subordinating conjunction. Do you remember because? Because something happened? What? Right? So when we have subordinating conjunction, we must have a main clause. And of course, there are a couple of ways we can fix this, right? So after I had lunch at a village pub, and then we can use comma, right? I looked for my bag to get money for my bill. Again, of course, we can change the order. So we can also say I looked for my bag to get money for my bill after I had lunch at a village pub. So it works perfectly fine. Okay, the last one. Pumas are found in America, full stop. Large cat-like animals. Again, we have one sentence and another one is a phrase, right? So pumas are found in America. Right, so there's nothing wrong with that one. The problem we have is large cat-like animals. How can we change this? How can we improve this? Right? So we need to put a subject. So pumas are found in America, full stop. They are large cat-like animals. Again, in this example, subject and verb is missing. Right, so this is the end of this lesson. We learn about subjects and we learn about predicates. I hope you learned something, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe.